welcome back to the Candy Kingdom with Lace and Misty. The Candy Kingdom is a podcast for littles and bigs, where we provide resources and support and a safe space to learn together. So sit back, grab your sippy, stuffy and passy, and let's play! Hi everybody, welcome back to the Candy Kingdom. I am one of your hosts, Lace, and this is Misty. So hi Misty, how was your week today? Your week today.
How was my week?
Good start. How was your week up until today?
Mixed feelings about my week, honestly. There was some kerfuffle, I guess, and also I had a package that I ordered that went missing. It's been confirmed, like I opened an investigation with the post and it's been confirmed that it was delivered. So someone has taken my box of adult pull-ups thinking it was something valuable and they've opened it and been like, what the heck is this? So someone in my neighborhood knows that like the person at this specific address, I don't know, like 1 Candy Lane, loves to wear frickin' adult pull-ups.
I just cannot imagine the look on their face when they're like,
I know.
Oh, sick, a PlayStation, or like some expensive gadgetry, and they're like, this is diapers, and they're not for babies either. Oh god.
They like look up the website where I got them from, and they're just like, wow, what goes on?
It's so funny. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had your dip stolen. That's really sad.
I was looking forward to them because I got the notification that they were delivered, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get home, I'm going to wear my dips, I'm going to wear my onesie, I'm just going to dance around and this and that, and I got home and there was nothing there.
Oh, no. I'm really sorry that happened. That's really sad.
Yeah, well, anyway, how was your week?
Stressful. So I have, just as a disclaimer, I suffer some pretty intense mental health stuff. So I have generalized anxiety disorder, and as well as that, I have panic disorder and depression sometimes. And the most recent thing that was added to my list of reasons why I'm completely mental, and I use that term lovingly, is I also I suffer something at times called premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And basically what that means is when I am menstruating, my hormones just dive and everything gets really hard. So like getting out of bed is like, no thank you, and going to work is like, no thank you, and talking to people is like, no, I'm not going to do that either. So yeah, that was me this week. So anyway,
that's really crappy.
Yeah, that was crappy.
Like,
yeah. We had some online drama as well to deal with, which was pretty stressful.
That was the kerfuffle.
Yeah.
Yes.
But a big thank you to everybody who participated in that discourse, whether you were on one side of the argument or the other. It's really good to have conversations and to be respectful of everybody in that conversation. And I'm glad that it's been sorted. And thank you to everybody who sent us kind messages and supported us through that, because that was pretty tough.
That was pretty tough.
That was pretty tough.
Yeah, we got through it, and like it was amazing to see how many people listened to our first episode. Like Lace and I are a bit obsessive, so we were kind of like checking
we were doing
every couple of hours, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely do multiple times a day. I'm invested. I'm just invested. And it was very exciting that we got accepted and listed onto iTunes as well as Spotify earlier in the week. So that's super cool. So thank you to iTunes for letting us be kinky on their platform. Actually, another piece of news that I think is really interesting. Have you seen that Pornhub is looking at acquiring Tumblr?
Yes. Oh, I have such mixed feelings. I don't think they should, because apparently they do a lot of problematic stuff.
They do, as do lots of companies, however. And
True.
I think that I think...
Are we going to say the lesser evil? Because I hate that. But
no, I'm not going to...
Also, this is the reality that we live in.
Yeah.
We just have to go, which company is the least worse?
Exactly. And I think, yes, Pornhub are known to be misogynistic. They're known to exploit sex workers for money and lots of different things. And they can be very transphobic and misogynistic and all that sort of thing because it is a website.
Because they are a porn company.
Yeah, they're a porn site. And I don't agree with that. But at the same time, the other companies that are looking to acquire Tumblr are media companies. And if a Murdoch rag pulls up with Tumblr or even Yahoo or any... I mean, they have sponsors that are banks.
Well, Yahoo tried and they gave it.
Well, yeah, they yeah, they fucked it and ran away. But the thing is if you look at the work of what, big banks do, like NAB and all that, they have, so Citibank is another one. They are heavily invested in media industry sponsorship, and they are responsible for, mass ecological destruction and, disregarding native title and doing things on native land that is, destroying the land. And,
Oh, Lace, we've done it again. We've gone on an anti-capitalism.
All I'm saying is that every single company that has the money to buy Tumblr and do something with it, whether it's Pornhub or a bank-funded media company or any of those sorts of things, they're all going to be problematic. And I would like to have the porn back on Tumblr.
Yes, true. I don't want to be like freaking coned again.
That would be the one benefit of having Pornhub by that Tumblr is the porn would come back. And you know what? That's what I want. So I think we can work with the rest of, the misogynism and the transphobia. We can, work with Pornhub and be like, yo, get your shit together. It could be a really beneficial, like a mutually beneficial thing because
relationship,
I think that Pornhub could stand to learn a lot and probably improve their platform because by and large, Tumblr doesn't really support that kind of business. So
I feel like they have the incentive to because like we're going to be like, oh, well, we don't really want to pay like for your company to screw people over.
Exactly.
So,
yep.
Fix your stuff.
I think that there's a learning curve that Pornhub could go through, and if they acquire Tumblr, then I think that opens up an avenue for dialogue at the very least and discussion about, hey, this is bullshit. So
watch this space. Really.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting news in the online kink community. Sort of. Well, it is. Yeah, it is for us because we are in the kink side of Tumblr that suffered a massive blow when the porn got.
Oh God!
Because it was everything. It was things that weren't even pornography. Like I had things flagged that were like one of them was like baking, and it was like a gift set. It was someone kneading bread, and Tumblr was like, "Oh, that's very inappropriate."
Oh my goodness! Stirring people up.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I guess that's kind of our news for the week. So should we get into the episode and what we're going to be talking about today?
Absolutely. So today's topic, we're going to be looking at why CGL, why do many people go down this path? And we're going to cover a couple of different topics. Basically, why it's different, how it's different within kink, where we sit on that alignment, what appeals to us, what is our experience with it, and a little bit about safety at the end. So, Misty, why don't you start? What do you think makes CGL different from traditional DS or master-slave dynamic or like BDSM in general?
Well, I think there's several things that set it apart and also make it the same, which I think we spoke about in the first episode as well. There's obviously the structure, but it's more flexible, I guess, is what makes it different. And there's a lot more playfulness, which I enjoy. But again, it's a different headspace. It's more of a nurturing kind of relationship from the caregiver side, where they are providing rules and they are providing structure, but they also get to indulge someone. And then for the little side of things, it's like you're being dominated, but in a gentle way, and it's in a way that makes you feel, oh gosh, I don't want to say other relationships other kink styles don't make you feel safe, but I think it's a different kind of safety and a different type of vulnerability. Yeah, so I don't know. What do you think?
So I think what makes it different from traditional BDSM is that it is focusing on a part of the relationship very heavily, which is the nurturing, gentle dominance and the sweet, caring, adorable kind of childlike innocence part of submission. So for people, there actually are people who have listened to the podcast that are like, I don't even really know what CGL is. So let's just go back a little minute. CGL stands for caregiver, little. It encompasses DDLG, so Daddy Dom Little Girl. It encompasses, and that's like what everybody knows is DDLG because that's been hyper fetishized in the media and it's become very trendy and things like that. But it also encompasses mummy doms and their littles, so little girls, little boys. It also encompasses non-binary littles, so people and caregivers, so people that do not identify with a gender. And basically any sort of submissive relationship that is adorable and sweet and cute and fun and pastel and unicorns and sippy cups and where it's less about the kind of punishments that you would experience as a little as opposed to the punishments that a submissive would have are like lines, being put in the corner. You're not allowed to play video games for 24 hours. You need to, there are sexual punishments as well, but it's more like kids-based punishments that you would generally see an actual child suffer, which is terrible and traumatizing when it happens. Not traumatizing, but
it's awful. We don't want to get in trouble.
I don't want to write 150 lines of you will not get to ask
I wrote,
first.
The most I've ever written is 25, and I was like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my life, I will never do this thing ever again.
I like to do multiple colors. When I'm feeling really bratty, I'll push it out and make it last as long as possible because I know that it's I have to do this other task. So my caregiver is their caregiving stuff is put on hold while I'm doing this task. So if I'm feeling like a brat, I'll be like, well, that's it. I'm going to take ages.
Take my time.
Every letter is going to be a different color and every anyway.
And I guess the rules that we have as well, and the incentives. I don't know if typical or other dominance and submissive relationships usually have rewards. I don't know because I've never experienced the other ones. I don't really see other submissives because on Tumblr, I follow people who aren't littles, obviously, because that's where I got my introduction into kink and into CGL was through the other sides of BDSM. But I don't really see things that are, rewards for them. They're not their caregiver, but their dom takes care of them, but in a different way. So I've seen stuff where the dominant is the person who pays for them to get their nails done or them to get their hair done or something. But I feel like rewards aren't as explicit in those relationships, and I like being rewarded. I enjoy a reward.
I think that's one of the key differences is the rewards, because that's the same for me. I've never really seen any kind of specific reward system. I'm sure that dominants do reward submissives in different ways, whether that's privileges, or having things within their protocol changed for a time that makes it easier for them. Or I'm not going to speculate because I really don't know. But what I know about CGL is that reward is a huge part. It is massive,
such a big part. And some people do the rewards without the punishments, because I know that some people, particularly coming from whatever background, punishments can be a hard limit for them. So then in that case, it turns into mostly just rewards. And I guess that's a personal preference.
Yeah, reward
as well.
Or conversation. I think particularly for me, so my alignment is as a little. And that's sort of first and foremost. But I have been in situations where I have switched, and I have been in situations where I've been primarily a a caregiver. Another thing, another label within the CGL is, and something that's not really talked about, is sort of proxy caregivers, so aunties, babysitters, uncles, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they're those who kind of are there to enforce the rules of the primary caregiver. And can have sometimes
in
liberties.
Their place, pretty much.
And sometimes they can have liberties like punishment, rewards, and all that kind of thing, as long as they meet the rules of their primary caregiver. I guess it's a conversation that people have with their proxies and the caregivers, and they discuss, okay, what are my limits, and what can I do and what can I not do? And I've been all of that. I've been a caregiver, primary caregiver. I've been an auntie. I've been a little. So I think when you're in all of those spaces, I've always found that reward and recognition is a huge part of CGL, 110%.
Yes, the recognition is just as big as the rewards. I believe that. Like, it's so important to have things that you've done acknowledged, things that you've done well, but then also there's the other side of it. Like, if someone doesn't pull me up on something, I just feel neglected. So, yeah, that's such a big part of it.
And we'll come back and talk a little bit about the benefits of rules and things like that in a moment. But I just wanted to touch really on why it appeals generally, because for people that are not in this sort of dynamic, they don't really get it, and they find it a little bit like, this is a bit weird. Yeah, can be. So why do you think generally it appeals to people?
Ooh, that's a hard question. Because I see the appeal for myself. Maybe I should just talk about why it appeals for me, but I feel like I just talked about that a little bit. Oh gosh, here we go into like Misty's sad life story a little bit. But anyway, growing up for me, like, I'll be honest, there was trauma in my childhood.
Yeah.
And abuse, which took different types of forms. So then the reason why this kind of relationship appeals to me, it's kind of like, not correcting, but it's kind of like fulfilling those needs that I had at that age, but fulfilling them now in a space where, yes, I am older, but I am able to also connect with that younger side of me, because that's what I needed. And it's what I still need. So, like, for example, being told, yes, you did this thing not the best way, but that doesn't mean you're a bad X. Doesn't mean you're a bad little. It's just something that you need to work on, and that's okay. And like, the perfectionism was such a huge part of my childhood, and so I get to let go of that in little space, especially with a caregiver that I'm trusting. Like, I don't have to worry about something that I worry about, like, in big spaces. Oh my gosh, I'm not coloring within the lines or whatever. Whereas in little space, I literally destroyed a coloring page, and it was so nice, and like, I didn't care, and I held that marker, in a younger grasp. Like, I basically just held it in my fist and just like went crazy, and that was nice. It was freeing for me. And also, like, being able to ask for help in that vulnerable kind of headspace, or being able to ask for reassurance in that headspace as well, is really important for me. And bringing that vulnerability to someone and trusting that they enjoy it is such a, like, I don't want to, feel like someone's kind of doing this just for me. I want to feel like they want it as well, and I don't want to feel like my needs and my wants are a burden on that person.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's about our mutual enjoyment and the fact that we both, like doing things like that. And that's why I can connect with other littles as well, is because, we're all just not thinking of it as a weird thing that we're doing. We have things in common, and yeah, I guess, I don't know if I've done a very good job of explaining why it appeals to me.
No, I think
I only just woke up. So.
I think sounds like to me is that, for you, kink or being a part of CGL and being in that dynamic is it's a really therapeutic space for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And like a space of healing.
It's a space of healing. It's a space of reclaiming my childhood for myself from a place of power, basically. Right. And not having these things inflicted on me, but choosing to give someone that power over me as well, because I want them to and because I trust them, not because I have no choice.
It's a really powerful thing to give up the power in a power exchange. It's a huge level of trust, and it's a huge level of, okay, I've made this decision, I need to live this decision. And I think a lot of the accountability for littles comes from,
oh my goodness,
people, the dominant saying, hey, no, this is my decision. You gave me this decision. You gave me the right to make this decision. You need to uphold that. And if you've discussed it as such, then they may punish you for not upholding, giving them the power to make that choice. That's so important. Yeah.
It's like, yes, you care and you're paying attention, and wow, I feel so safe. Like, thank you for, caring enough about me to
punish.
Tell me. Yeah, exactly.
And I think a lot of people that don't understand this dynamic at all are like, how can you be grateful for a punishment? And this is something that submissives and littles definitely are aligned with. We have this in common. We understand that if a dominant is punishing, it's because they love us, and it's not because they want us to suffer necessarily.
Yes.
Unless that's a discussed kink that we like. So anyway, I think that really highlights.
So obviously, I haven't chatted about my label, but obviously I am mostly a little. I haven't really experienced being a caregiver. The only other label that I've kind of explored a little bit is being a big sister, which I've enjoyed. It's kind of like getting to pick on someone a little bit, but also really ultimately caring about, them, but not in a way where I have authority over them, really. It's just kind of like we just have this relationship, and we tease each other, and I might tell them, you should do this, but ultimately I'm not going to force them to do it or be their caregiver and get them to do it. It's more like I suggest things and want to get up to mischief with them and all of, and be a good example is the other thing. Like, I like being a good example and being like, oh, I've done this, like, let's all do it together, sort of thing.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing is when particularly with the kink group that we both that you own and that I help you with administrating, sorry. Yes. You definitely do come across as a big sister in that group. It's not, oh, Misty's the owner of everybody. It's, hey, Misty is like facilitating this as somebody who's a little bit older, but not that much.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely people who are chronologically older than me in the kink group. But it's, I like the way that you've kind of said it. Like, I never want to be seen as the authoritative figure, but it's more like, I will call you out if you're being a butt.
It's my.
But we're gonna have fun.
I feel like we're all at like your birthday party, hanging out at your house.
That's adorable. That's so fun. That's really fun for me because my last birthday party was as a child growing up. Like, my last birthday party was when I was 7. So that makes me kind of happy a little bit.
Yeah.
Because birthdays are a massive deal for me.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to that healing space for me and just, getting the choice to do things over a little bit. And that's not to say that every little, has trauma or
no, that's
where they're coming from. Yeah, that's just me. And there are other reasons why it appeals to me that have nothing to do with that. Like, I just like feeling cute and wearing cute things and, and if you can't tell, I like making people laugh. So,
you're very good at that.
That lets my playfulness come out a lot. Yeah. So,
I think for myself, it definitely is very similar in that I like to be, like to participate in cute stuff and pastels. And so for me, my personality is best described, well, my aesthetic personality is best described as nana chic. So for me to be a little and in nana chic is kind of always fun for people. Hence, so the name Lace actually comes from Lace and Tea, which is my handle across a couple of different platforms. And yep, it's definitely my thing, tea and lace doilies, and I really like kind of soft, comfortable aesthetic, and so for me, actually, my going deeper into my alignment as a little, actually, I align as a kitten, or a little kitten in that play space. I think you do as well.
I do. That's how we get along. We have so many similarities. It's kind of
exactly
weird, but
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty weird. I think you're just trying to copy me because you think I'm so cool. Because you're a real social chameleon, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. So socially blend in everywhere. That's cheeky. You're cheeky today.
I am feeling a little bit bratty today, but that's okay. So yeah, normally I don't actually align as a brat at all. It's just not for me. I much prefer to just be really well behaved, a very good girl. Yes. I did, same as you, I had some traumas growing up, but I don't think that really impacts my little space at all. But I can relate to when you said about how, well, I guess that the therapeutic part of little space for you is in giving back the control to somebody. Like when you're little and you go through trauma, you don't get a decision about that trauma. It just happens to you. So I think, not that I'm...
And you don't get a decision in who's making choices for you and who's caring for you and all of that kind of stuff. The autonomy is just not there.
Yes, and I think that I agree with you in a sense of it's really nice to have a caregiver who just is 100% into your interests and your well-being and your spaces and things, and I think it definitely has been really refreshing for me in that way. But I also think that comes not just from having a traumatic childhood, but mostly to do with having traumatic relationships as an adult. But again, I didn't come into kink because I'm traumatized. I came into kink because kink's really hot, and
so true.
And I don't particularly like the DS relationships because I find them to be I find them to be very stifling, and I find them to be very cold, and I really love the reassurance of kink and being in a relationship that, you know, where my dominant, and I'm pansexual, so for me it's either daddy or mummy or whoever, it doesn't really matter. To me it's about attraction to personality. Not
whereas I'm bisexual, but that's mostly because that's what I've always identified with since I was like 13, but also because I didn't know what being pansexual was. Like, I'm attracted to I'm not attracted regardless of gender, but I don't also care what gender you are. But I'm also just still going to say I'm bisexual because that's what I feel comfortable saying.
Oh, look, I mean, I think the reason I chose to, I kind of always felt bisexuality was very limiting because it doesn't really, I guess, cater for people, or it's less likely to cater for people who are transgender. And I have loved and continue to love people who are transgender. And, you know, I've been involved in dynamic with a person who is transgender. So, you know, I
get that, but also being bi, I'm like, well, I'm attracted to females and males, so, you know, that includes transgender people.
Yeah.
Because,
I understand
but
that.
I see where you're coming from. It sounds like it's transphobic from that general, you know, definition
of the bi bit rather than
and pan.
Yeah, and I'm not qualified to comment on that because I don't really. I mean, it's just I'm staying in my lane, but I have always felt like I'm
Stay in your lane.
I think that's pansexual people are just attracted to people's personalities and don't. The gender doesn't even come into it. And personally, I don't see gender at all. So, you know, obviously I see gender, but I just don't care about it. Like, it's such a... Gender's dumb and problematic, and I just think, let's just get rid of it. But anyway, so that's another thing. Back to what we were talking about before.
And then, like, I guess from the caregiver side, I want to talk a little bit about why it might appeal to them as well. And I just feel like it's people who want to be a dominant, obviously, but
want to be playful at the same time.
Yes, they want to be playful. They want to have that soft kind of communication that, I just think about it like when I fantasize all the time about just sitting in my caregiver's lap and just having that quiet moment of connection. And I feel like that's more acceptable within CGL, like, doing stuff like that. And the dominant role looks a little bit different as well, They might, tie our shoes or change our diapers, or, they're still picking out our outfits and things like that. But it's different. Yeah.
It is. Not to say that kind of connection isn't possible in a DS relationship. Definitely is. I just don't know any DS relationships where the dominant is interested in doing those things. And I would challenge that if they are, then are they actually, participating in CGL?
Yeah. Sometimes you bring out those characteristics in each other.
That's right. Yep.
And then I also think there's a bit of a stigma against, I shouldn't say there's a bit of a stigma. There's definitely a stigma against, littles, which we will talk about why that is in future episodes. But I see a lot of submissives say, I'm mostly submissive with little tendencies. So I think they're a bit reluctant to kind of make that their whole identity, which is fair.
Yeah.
That's fine, because I mostly identify as a little, but I have those other little sides of myself. So.
Yeah. Whereas I've always identified as a little strictly, and I've, especially when you get the daddy dom types who want the best of both worlds. Yeah. It's like, well, buddy, you can't with me particularly because I just do the little stuff, and if you want to do dominant submission stuff, then I'm Polly. You can go do that somewhere else. So
I guess that's why it's a different space for both of us, and it's all about your wants and needs as a kinkster first and foremost, and your romantic wants and needs. Like, speaking about past relationships, like my mostly vanilla ex, there were certain things that he did that, like, I guess looking back at it made me feel little, like frickin' forehead kisses. Oh my god. Like, if you kiss my forehead, I am just there. And then he would always, like, fix my outfits. Like, say I, like, was wearing something and I just kind of threw it on and was, like, ready to go. He'd, like, untwist my bra strap and, like, tuck me in and all sorts, like, tuck my shirt in and stuff like that. And I'd just be like, what's going on here? But that's cute. That's what it so is. Makes me, that's what's going on. Cute. And so made me feel so taken care of, because I was like, he actually cares that I don't look like a sloppy mess, whereas I'm just like, I gotta go do my stuff. Yes,
that's so sweet. I think when I identify, think about my past relationships, which I don't do very often, but in reflection time, I have identified that it's definitely been a trend that I have always gone towards that. And do you know what, I think I picked it up from my mum in lots of ways too, because she's really playful, and she's always been really playful in her relationship. So because my parents are obviously divorced and blah blah blah, so she's had a couple of relationships through my life, not heaps, but a couple, and she's always been really cute, and she's always been really cute with us too, and kind of fun, and she has a little bratty spat tantrum, so I think probably my mum has CGL tendencies as well. So I've always known that it's okay to be fun and playful and light, and I've always just transferred that into my relationships, I guess. And it's funnily enough, I've always found myself in the caregivers thing in my relationships. Like, I've had maybe one or two sort of really, really big relationships in my life, like the serious, long-lasting 5+ years relationships that were vanilla. And one of them in particular, he suffered cancer. Now he's fine. He lives on to be a complete jerk to this day.
Oh, good.
Well, I suppose. But I took on a full-time carer role for him while he was having his chemotherapy treatment and stuff like that. It's when I came into CGL, it was so refreshing to not have to be the educator in a relationship. It was really nice to find somebody who actually was going to take that position from me. And I need that, because in my life, I have a fairly stressful job.
Same.
Yeah, which tends to be the way in CGL and kink relationships in general. But yeah, so it's been really lovely to find a dynamic where the partner, it's expected of them to sort of take the lead and take control and to be the one in charge. And it's like, yay, I don't have to do that. I can just live my best life.
Yeah. Within reason, still
Oh, yeah.
upholding both ends of the bargain,
But
I think that's important too.
It is, and they get a lot out of that, making sure that I'm keeping up my end of the bargain, because a lot of the time, me doing that is the thing that they like.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that weird? I can't identify with that.
I
can't identify. I'm like, what? You care if I do that? Okay, cool.
Yeah. And it's that reciprocity. I think a lot of littles think like, oh, it's just a challenge to get me to do this, And I think for the bigs, it's like the challenge is the thing they like. It's the chase of the challenge. So yeah.
Well, it's purposeful. It's something that they,
and
they have a purpose.
Feeling needed and relied on. I never realized that was such a big thing for dominance, and particularly I think for women that are in dominant positions. I'm just generalizing here, but for women that are in dominant positions, I think that's kind of the norm for them, because society really leans on women a lot for emotional labor, whereas for men, not so much in lots of ways.
True.
So I think to be emotionally relied on is very refreshing for a guy, and I think that could be part of it. I'm not sure. I'm just generalizing. Feel free to make comments about that.
No, I think that's kind of fair, because, women are kind of the original caretakers, taking care of the home, taking care of the kids, and all of that kind of space. So,
historically speaking, not just like specifically.
Not written in law, but that's a fair point. So do you want to wrap up, or do you want to talk about anything else?
I think safety.
Should we summarize?
Safety. Real quickly, we'll just talk about safety. There has been a lot happening in the online world at the moment. And there are certain groups of people that we will talk about in later episodes, but I just think it's really important to highlight now. So I don't want to name names or shame shamers or people that need to be shamed, but I just want to say to littles, be careful. There are people who are out there to masquerade and are going in with an agenda and going in with an expectation of their own, and with a lot of very selfish needs and wants, and they will doing all of these kink things is fun at the time, but aftercare is hugely important, and somebody who will respect your safe words, and somebody who will respect you having a safety buddy, someone who knows where you are at all times and understands the value of a safety call if you're spending time with them, and that it's not to make you feel bad about that. Be careful, because there has been a
vetting is important more than ever.
There's been a recent surge of people who are very problematic in the online spaces that kink people participate and play in. So be careful and vet people strongly. Ask for references, and we'll talk more about that later. But just please,
just trust your gut. Also,
given recent situations that have happened where certain problematic people have lost their online space with good reason, they're starting to infiltrate places like FetLife and the online communities. So just watch the new people, ask for references, and trust the people that you know. Yeah, is all I'll say.
Love that. Good. No, that's really good.
Cool. Well,
we want to keep each other safe.
Thank you everybody for listening, and we hope that you've gotten something out of this week. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them on the relevant platforms you're listening on, or email us at thecandykinkdom@gmail.com.
Yes, and don't forget about all of our social media. We're pretty much the Candy Kingdom everywhere. So Tumblr, SoundCloud, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Patreon we're on as well. We'll be putting up some new content for that very, very soon.
Yes, so, Patreon, very fun place too. We get some excellent perks, including little gifts, color with me's, AMAs, and a whole bunch of fun stuff. So if you're interested in getting lots of extras and then supporting us financially, even, we've got some really affordable low tier Patreon spots and a Discord that you can actually become a part of to talk to us directly. So please, feel free to utilize that system. But Yeah, I think
That's
that's
all
it.
from us this week. Yeah. So thank you again for listening, and we hope that you had an excellent week, Candy Kingdom.
Yes,
Bye.
absolutely. Bye-bye.